downstairs and tell him to send him this
I think he's in. Well, maybe not. John, are you in there? Yeah, if you would. I wasn't looking for this file. I was looking for the other one that I thought was up this morning. They must have figured something else out in that case. Okay, you can, oh, we're on the record. All right. Dental versus dental. Counsel, state your appearances, please.
Andrew Kirkpatrick, appearing on behalf of the mother, Emily Dental.
Michael Fallahy on behalf of the defendant father, Your Honor.
I was looking through my notes to see where we left off. I'm sure you guys remember.
Yeah, Your Honor, we had left off with my client and I did not intend to call any other witnesses. What I would like to do this morning, and I did speak with Mr. Fallahy regarding it, is it's been a month or so since our last hearing. There is one update piece of testimony that I would like to recall my client real quick and just do it now. It's regarding employment. If the court would be inclined to allow that, and then I would rest my case at that point, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Dental, do you understand that you're still under oath from the last session that we had?
I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. Ms. Dental, you recall testifying at our last hearing about a month or so ago, correct?
Yes.
And at that point in time, there was some questioning regarding employment in Oklahoma. Do you recall that questioning?
I do.
And at that point in time, you did not have any job offers. You were concerned about applying for jobs, not knowing what the court's order would be as far as the move.
Yes.
Were you able to secure or get any confirmation of any employment in Oklahoma?
I did. I haven't signed a contract per the results for today, but I do have a position in Tulsa with McClure Elementary School, either a first grade math position or possibly a sixth grade math position, one of the two.
Is that a guaranteed offer pending the results or the outcome of this request to move?
Yes.
The pay that you're going to receive there, is it more or less or comparable to what you're receiving?
Comparable to what I receive here.
Okay. Is the cost of living more or less or comparable to what it is here?
I would say it's either a little less or comparable.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Questions, Mr. Fallahy?
No, thank you, Judge.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation, Andy?
It does, with the exception of argument, that does conclude the presentation.
Very well. Mr. Fallahy?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd call my client, Brian Dentel, please.
Mr. Dentel, would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You put your hand down, state your full name for the record.
Brian A. Dentel.
Go ahead, Mr. Fallahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Brian, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, sir.
All right. Is it okay if I call you by your first name during your testimony?
That'd be okay with me.
All right, Brian. So you had an opportunity, Brian, obviously, to hear the testimony of your ex-wife, both at our hearing about a month ago and now today on this continuation date, right?
That's right.
And you and she were divorced about 15 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And in the judgment of divorce that was entered, you and she have joint legal custody. And your ex-wife, Emily, she has primary physical custody of the kids, right?
That's correct.
Now, what are the kids' names and ages as of today, Brian?
Lacey Dentel is age 9. She just had a birthday on the 17th. And James Wesley Dentel, he's 8 years old.
Okay, and in terms of the history, I don't want to go into too much, but I think that you and your ex-wife had lived previously in Oklahoma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You moved back to Michigan, I think 6 years ago. Is that right? In 2015?
That's correct.
Okay. Lacey and Wesley were adopted in the state of Oklahoma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when you moved back to Michigan, I believe there's still some type of adoption subsidy that's received from the state of Oklahoma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you explain that for the court?
It's a stipend. Wesley gets 600 and Lacey gets 600 for their disabilities. Wesley is autistic and Lacey's ADHD.
Okay, and Brian, that stipend that's received is received whether the children live in Michigan or Oklahoma. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are those stipends paid directly to your ex-wife, Emily?
That's correct.
All right. So, Brian, in terms of parenting time, there were some allegations made in the motion that you don't exercise your parenting time. You feel like that is true or false?
That's false.
And why do you feel that way?
I exercise all my parenting time on Mondays from I get out of work from like 4 o'clock. I pick them up at about 5:30. Then I take them back by 8 o'clock. But that was agreed upon. On the paperwork, it said 7:30. And that's what we agreed upon, 8 o'clock. And on Friday, I picked them up after work. Then I would take them back on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Then the following week would be Wednesday after work. Then I would take them back at 8 o'clock. Then I wouldn't see them till next Monday. I did that all the time. And plus I text Emily every time I left work too, when I was leaving work. And when I took the kids back, I text them back too, every time.
Well, let me stop you there, Brian. Okay. What do you mean? What do you mean you text them back every time when you leave work or get done with your parents?
I'm on my way every time, half an hour before I take the kids back. It takes a half an hour from Addison to Brooklyn. So it gives her time to get set up for the kids.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate that explanation, Brian. So it sounds like during the school year anyway, you're seeing the kids, what it sounds like are portions of 5 days out of every 2 weeks. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you feel if your children moved to Oklahoma with their mother, that you'd still be able to see them 5 days out of every 14 days?
No, I wouldn't. I'd barely ever see them.
And now, Brian, tell me real quick about your summer parenting time. What I want to do, and I don't mean to ask a compound question, but can you explain what's in the judgment of divorce and what you guys have been doing?
My judgment of divorce, I have 5 weeks with the kids. This year, I took every other week off of work. Like this week, I got the kids. The next week, I work. And I got the kids the following week. So basically, it just keeps on going down through August.
Okay.
So it's every other week during the summer.
Okay, so that's what you're doing this summer. What did you and your ex-wife do for parenting time last summer, the summer of 2020?
We did every week. I worked on third shift, so I'd pick them up on Friday, Saturday, and took them back Sunday. But the following week, I had them extended. I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's every other week. So we did that through the whole entire summer.
So it sounds like last year you had, if not an equal parenting time, very close to it with your ex-wife, but you modified it a bit to where you'd have the kids every weekend, it sounds like, and then one of the weekends was extended to try to get you your equal parenting time. Does that sound like a fair statement?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you already touched on this a little bit, Brian, but has there ever been a time where you missed your court-ordered parenting time?
Never missed any of my time. I made sure of that. I'm trying to be the best possible father I can.
And Brian, and it's a good segue into my next question for you here, but describe your relationship with your kids, if you would. I mean, how do you show them love and affection? How do they show you love and affection?
Just when I pick them up, when I first pick them up, Lacey comes up, gives me a hug. She tells me I love you, and I tell her I love her too. And I pick her up. She wants to be carried everywhere, and Wesley, I have to go to him and I tell him, you need a kiss. He'll kiss me on both cheeks, and sometimes he'll give me a kiss, or he'll just laugh and run. He wants me to follow him. And there's some days it's a struggle sometimes, but I know he loves me, but it's hard.
Yeah.
But I run with him a lot, and I chase them, and I'm trying to teach them every possible thing I have. I take them places. I take them on little road trips. We go out in the garden. We pick stuff. We make ice cream. I ran my first race with Lacey, the 5K. Did great. She did the 9-minute mile the first time. I had to go chase after her. Can I look at my notes? Is that okay?
That's okay with me, Brian, but I guess we've got to wait to make sure Mr. Kirkpatrick's okay with that too. I'll tell you what, Brian, why don't you have your
I don't have a
go ahead,
problem
Amy.
with him looking at his notes. I don't have a problem looking at his notes if it's in relation to a question and he needs to refresh his recollection. So I just
Thank
don't
you.
want him reading from his notes, for his testimony. That's it. I don't have a problem with him looking at them.
Sounds good. Brian, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard.
All right, let me ask you a few more questions. If you need to reference your notes, like that's okay from the other side, but don't read from it, okay?
Okay.
So you've mentioned a few of the things you like to do with the kids, and that was kind of a spin-off from, I think, my question about how the kids show you love and affection and how you show them love and affection. But let me ask you this: do you do active things with the children?
Yes, I do.
And do you think that's important?
Yes, it is.
Why do you feel that?
It gives them more hands-on. They remember it when they get older. And they know what dad's going to do, and sometimes they don't know what dad's going to do, and it kind of surprises them. And it puts a big old smile on their face, and it puts a big old smile on my face too. And I just want to do more with them. And it's just, I just love these kids to death ever since day one.
So, Brian, in terms of Wesley, you had indicated he's autistic. Can you explain for the court how he communicates?
Well, he communicates he comes up to you, and sometimes he'll grab your arm and he'll point to like the cabinet or something like that. Or he has a little picture sheet. He'll point at it and he'll tell you what he wants, like milk, or he wants to go outside. He wants to get on the trampoline. It's like a communication. It's a picture of communication. Or you just open up the door and he'll just wants to run and just wants to play. or he just wants to swing. And it's a little frustrating, but you get it after a while.
Is Wesley able to communicate verbally, Brian, or not?
No, he can't. He used to talk a long time ago, but when he got his tonsils taken out, he just quit cold turkey.
Okay. And so if the children were moved to Oklahoma, is FaceTime or Skype or some other telephone or video communication something that would be possible between you and Wesley to keep your relationship strong?
No, he wouldn't stay still. He'd be running around. He might kiss the tablet. He might put his hand on the tablet, and that's about it. But my relationship would be.
I guess Your Honor, I object to speculation at this point, unless he's done FaceTime with the child, or unless he's done Zoom or some other form of communication. It's speculation at this point on how he would react to that.
Valerie, do you have a response?
Judge, I'll just go ahead and move on. So Brian, without getting into how Wesley may respond, how do you feel like FaceTime would go with Wesley, or maybe have you done FaceTime in the past with him?
I did FaceTime with Lacey and she did great, but Wesley, you have to chase him all over the house. He's a big boy. He's pretty hard to hold down. And I've tried to do FaceTime with him, but it's impossible.
And yep. And is your ex-wife Emily, if is she active with the children outside?
She's not as active as I am, but she's not active.
What's your feeling on screen time for the children when they're with you, Brian?
Oh, they leave their tablets at home. There's no screen time. Yeah, we're outside constantly. I think that's the best possible thing for any child. Wear them out a little bit. Come in during lunch, take a little nap, like that, watch a little movie, and then go back outside and wear ourselves out again. That's how I feel. And get yourself dirty, muddy, and just run it off. I'm just old school.
And you're a runner yourself, is that correct, Brian?
That's correct.
Did you just recently do some type of a race with Lacey?
Yeah, I did a 5K with Lacey and I loved it. Coaching her through it, and I think it was amazing.
And what other extracurricular activities have you taken part in with Lacey?
I did Girl Scouts with her. I did Girl Scout cookies with her. I built like a little box car before COVID. They were supposed to race it with her, and they canceled it. And then we went to concerts before the COVID and watched her sing. And what else? There's so many other things. Plus, I'm teaching her how to ride a bicycle. I got on her, and she's very proficient on riding the bicycle. I got her to tie her shoes, and she was always having Velcro. I don't know why you gotta have Velcro all the time, because kids gotta learn how to tie their shoes. I got her to tie her shoes and trying to teach her how to whistle. That's a little, that's kind of fun, but it's just all these little things, I think it makes the biggest difference.
And same question as it relates to Wesley. What things have you done with him in terms of extracurricular activities, things outside? You've mentioned a few already, but anything specifically that you've done with him?
Well, he likes to be chased. He loves it, like tag and he likes to swing, loves to swing. He can do that all day long. And swimming, trying to get him out of the lake with his life preserver on. He could be in there for hours after hours. Well, we've been going to Somerset Beach Campground and he loves it. And it's just the smallest things. I got him drinking out of a glass cup and everything, getting him to go on the potty and take long walks with him. He likes them long walks back there in the woods and, going to fields when we don't have it planted. And he loves tractor rides. He just loves them. Lacey does too. And he's ready. If he hears that engine roar, he's ready to go. Just, it's like when I open my door up on my Yukon, he's ready to go somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is. It's just where I go, he goes. And Lacey does the same thing. They're my little co-pilots.
So you mentioned, Brian, tractor rides. Can you tell the court where you live and where you do your tractor rides with the kids?
I live in Addison. I'm living on a farm. And we have an old Oliver, a 65, has big fenders, He sits on it and just sits there, He just loves it. He likes being on the farm, there's always something to do. It's just, he can climb up a tree or, you could just do about anything. You just put your mind to it.
And you live, I believe, currently, Brian, on your parents' property, but in a trailer of some form or an RV. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, one of the concerns in the motion that was filed was that you're living basically in an RV with no electricity, no water, and just kind of roughing it. Is that how you would describe your living situation?
That's correct. No, that's incorrect.
Okay. So how would you describe it then?
I bought myself a 38-foot trailer. It's pretty nice. It has AC. It has everything. Electricity, water, hot water heater, you name it. It's like any other trailer. They have problems like a house.
And you actually moved to that location, have been living in the RV since the entry of the judgment of divorce because your wife retained the home, your ex-wife, retained the home in the judgment of divorce, correct?
That's correct.
Do you plan to live in the RV forever?
No, there's two houses I'm looking at. There's a house across the road from my parents, used to be my grandma's. I'm waiting till that opens up. Hopefully it's pretty soon. Then I had my other grandfather. I lived about 30 minutes, lived in Jackson County. Hopefully that opens up. Oh, I got two possibilities, but I'm just whatever opens up, I'll take it.
Okay. And what do you do for work, Brian? What are your hours and where do you work?
Well, I work for Hardwood Solution. It's a wood mill. Right now I'm a maintenance guy there. I just got the position. And my hours are from 5:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a 10-hour shift. Kind of makes it hard. That was during COVID. But I worked on third shift before that. It made it a whole lot easier working with kids.
So in terms of the time you were working on third shift before COVID, would you attend the children's appointments that they would have, whether they'd be at school, doctor, dentist, things along those lines?
Oh, on third shift, I attended everything. Doctors, dentists. I took Lacey out on breakfast once a month for late start at school. went to Napoleon Cafe. She loved that, or I picked up Wesley, at school. Picked up at school, or Lacey too, because it was more flexible. It was only 8 hours. I did a whole lot more with the kids, but this 10 hours makes it a little harder.
How long have you been on first shift now, Brian?
I think 6 to 8 months.
And since you've been on first shift, has it forced you to unfortunately miss a couple of the children's appointments that occurred during the day?
Yeah, it makes it hard because Emily usually schedules them between 9 to 11 o'clock. I have so many, vacation days I got, and missing work all the time makes it hard.
If you could estimate for me, Brian, how many appointments have you missed since you switched to first shift?
I think I missed about maybe 3 or 4. I feel bad about it. I wish I wish I had never missed them.
You feel that prevents you from having a close relationship with the kids?
No, it's just something that's something I like doing with the kids. I want to be involved with them every possible thing I do, or what they do. It's like the therapy. When Wesley went to therapy, I slept in my car for 5 hours twice a week. I did because I love my son. And
Brian, let me ask you a question about that, just so I think we're all clear. So when you were working third shift, you'd have to take Wesley to therapy during the day?
that's correct. It was Tuesday.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the therapist came to the house on Mondays and Wednesdays, I think. But them 2 days, I slept in the car for 5 hours.
So
How many parents are gonna sleep in their car for 5 hours? Not too many.
So the therapy sessions that Wesley had were during the day. You'd take him and stay in the car, sleep in the car during his sessions, and then you'd bring him home after?
That's correct.
Okay. Are either of the children in therapy still right now?
No.
I believe there was prior testimony that Wesley goes to school and so does Lacey. Lacey, can you explain for the court where each of them go to school?
Wesley goes to Torrent up there in Jackson to the ISD. And Lacey goes to Grass Lake Community Schools.
And I believe your ex-wife's testimony was that the kids are doing pretty well in school and both schools are good schools. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add about the kids' schooling that maybe your ex-wife didn't mention while she was testifying?
Well, Wesley, I think, has a primary teacher and 4 assistants. There's only like 6 kids in the whole class. I think that's impeccable. And plus, Wesley gets to he swims once a week, bowls, goes to gymnastics. I don't know how many places would do that. And Lacey, she's doing fabulous when she's been taking her medication. She's been doing great in math. She's been having a hard time with it, but she's fighting through it quite well and doing great in science and reading. A very excited young lady.
And did you hear the testimony from your ex-wife at the last hearing regarding her proposed parenting time schedule for you if she were to be allowed to move to Oklahoma with the children?
Yes.
And how do you feel about that? Do you feel it would be in the kids' best interest to do that?
I don't think it's the best interest of the kids. I would never get to see them, and that FaceTime wouldn't be comparable to being, the physical part, the hugging, kissing, and just being loved. She can't run and she can't be with the cousins. She likes being with the cousins all the time. My parents go out there, they play with them too. My mom does. She walks with them, goes out in the garden. It's just, it wouldn't be the same.
You feel, and Brian, I understand, but do you feel that that it would be in the children's best interest to go, at least for one stretch of the year, about 4 months without seeing you in person?
I think it would devastate Lacey, is what I think. She'd be talking about me. She don't know maybe she knows what's going on. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know, but it would hurt Wesley too. He doesn't maybe he understands, but I don't have a clue what he's thinking, but it would be hurting him.
You've already testified to the children's special needs that they have and their medical condition. Have you scheduled some type of a test at U of M for Wesley? And if so, can you explain what it is that you've scheduled for the court?
It's just a blood test it's for autistic people. It's just a study, but why would it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt because it helps the people who's autistic, discover more, more cures. But Emily thinks that's a bad idea, and it's going to traumatize them. I just don't.
So your ex-wife, Emily, does not support the additional testing you're seeking to have Wesley go through at U of M regarding his autism?
No, she does not like that.
Has she told you why?
Oh yeah, she scolded me quite a few times. She's texted me, and it's a bad idea. No, it's going to traumatize Wesley because when he gets a shot, he's going to throw a fit. I know it takes 3 people to hold him down, but that's her problem.
And Brian, you have indicated that Wesley can maybe be a little bit much to handle. How do you foresee air travel with Wesley? Would he be able to do that?
No, he can't do air travel. He spits. He projectiles the spit off the corner of his mouth. He'll get his 2 index fingers and just shoots it out. And he's very proficient on that.
Okay, and so do you think the only travel method then for purposes of getting the kids to and from Oklahoma would be by car?
That's correct.
And how long of a ride is it from the Tulsa area to the Jackson area?
Well, it's a 2-day drive. She only goes halfway, about 6 hours, and takes the other 6 hours.
Okay. I mean, do you feel that there could be some problems with travel by car in terms of weather and construction and other things?
Oh, yes. Ice. I remember going through ice quite a few times during the winter. And construction going through St. Louis or Illinois, sometimes that's horrible. It takes forever. Yeah, the weather's a major concern.
And do you feel that it would be in the kids' best interests to make that trip here and back 6 to 8 times per year based on the schedule that your ex-wife had testified to at the prior hearing?
That's just hard on them. Being in a car for that long. Wesley doesn't eat for a day and a half after that long ride. And Lacey, she don't eat very much either after that that long ride either. I get a little concerned, I'm like, what's going on? And I ask Emily about it. Oh, they've been snacking the whole entire trip. They don't get a good meal, or they don't, it concerns me half the time.
In terms of extended family in this area, in the Jackson area, Brian, who do you have around?
I have my mom, my dad, my sister Susie. I got my uncle Walt, who's a barber in Addison. I have all my aunts and uncles in a general area, and we keep in contact.
Are there any cousins that Wesley and Lacey have in this area?
Oh, Lacey likes Dayton and Aquina. They're like best friends. They do just about anything, and they get in her own little fantasy land, and they pretend a lot, and they make forts, and they do projects together. They do just about anything. They go swimming. They love it. And they're like little chickens, they cluck all the time.
Brian, you mentioned was it Dayton and Aquina?
Yep, Dayton and Aquina.
And who are those two people? Are they the kids' cousins?
Yeah, they're Susie's, my sister's kids.
Okay, all right. And how often do Lacey and Wesley get to see Dayton and Aquina, their cousins?
Quite often now. When the COVID started coming down, now almost every other day, almost every day. Before the COVID, it was probably like once or twice a week with a far distance. Now they see them quite often now.
Okay, so and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but during the pandemic, the time that they had together went down. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Time that the kids are seeing their cousins now, is it similar to the amount of time they used to see their cousins before the pandemic hit? They
seen them a lot before the pandemic, and it went down, and then it's going right back up again. So They always seen them.
And how often do your children see their aunts, uncles, your parents? Can you explain that for the court?
Oh, they see my parents quite a bit every weekend or every week when I have them. My sister, same way. They see them almost every day, every time they're here. And Aquina and Dayton the same way. When I have them for a whole week, they're almost here every day. And my uncle Walt, I see him every Friday. We check up on him, see how he's doing, and every now and then I get Lacey to call the extended uncles too, just check up on them. I do the same exact thing. I like to check up on people, see how everybody's doing.
And if the kids were to move to Oklahoma with their mother, do you think it would impact the children's ability to have that relationship with your extended family?
Considerably, it would go down so damn. It'd be inexistent.
Has Emily, your ex-wife, has she supported a relationship between the children and your extended family?
No.
Can you give some examples? Yeah, can you give some examples?
It was always my responsibility all the time. She would not get involved in it. I'm like, Brian, you need to get this done. Plus, I'm busy sometimes, but sometimes I forget. But I usually get to it. I make that a highest priority. They keep in contact with everybody.
And Brian, there was some testimony at the last hearing date that you did not assist financially with the kids or physically by taking them more time when your ex-wife needed you to do that. Can you explain your side of the story as it relates to those issues?
Well, the COVID part, she works at a public school and she has a wide variety of students, is always sick all the time. And I had a hard time because I have to go to work too. I would love to see my kids more then, but it made it hard because I always got a phone call from her because, my kids got COVID. So now we're home for 2 weeks. And then it made it hard because that was my week to have the kids, or weekend to have the kids. It kind of made me sad. And sometimes I had to bite the bullet. I'm like, I want to see my kids.
So were there times you'd take work off to take the kids for your ex-wife?
Yes, I did. She called me up a few times, or texted me. I'm like, I need some help. So, all right, I'll take a couple of days off of work. So it'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I did it. Sometimes I wouldn't have any vacations, but I would still do it. They would let me. And I would bend over backwards, but my hands are tied at work. I would take time off anytime I wanted, but that paycheck got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I didn't get the FMLA from work, but Emily did. If I had the FMLA, I would took off work as much as I could.
And tell me financially, Brian, were you able to assist your ex-wife with the additional, I think she had testified about some additional babysitter or childcare costs. Were you able to assist her financially more than you pay in child support? And if so, how?
Well, I did it 3 times and it started affecting my paycheck a little bit and my bills. And I gave her $200 each time. That's a little bit more right now for my child support. And plus I offered her to fix a few things and she basically told me, I don't need no help.
Yeah. How would you explain your relationship currently with your ex-wife, Emily? Are you guys able to communicate okay regarding the children?
We have a rough time, but there's some days we have good times, but it's kind of rough.
Did she discuss with you the possibility of her moving to Oklahoma before she filed this motion to change the children's domicile to that state?
She mentioned it twice, and I didn't give her, basically told her no. And she got upset with me a few times. And I don't know what to say after that. When somebody gets upset, you just got to walk away.
Brian, do you think that the children's quality of life would improve if they moved to Oklahoma? And if you can, base this on your own experience when you lived there, because I believe you lived there for a few years before you moved back to Michigan, correct?
That's correct.
So yeah, again, the question would be then to you is, do you feel that the children have the ability to improve their lives by moving there as compared to living here?
I don't think it would improve. I think it would get worse. What would you do? They wouldn't be doing anything what they're doing right here now in Michigan. Not even close. All the stuff I do with them here. It's just, I think it impacts them more here than out there. The only thing they'd be doing out there is going to the splash pad, and lucky if they go to the park. That'd be about it. They wouldn't be doing anything out there.
Again, Your Honor, I've let a lot of stuff go as far as leading and everything else, but this is speculative. Obviously, I'll get into it in cross-examination, but this testimony here is speculation on what they would be doing if they moved to Oklahoma, unless he has personal knowledge of what's been checked out by mom and other issues.
I was of the impression that he was speaking about the conditions that existed when they previously lived there, but maybe you could flesh that out a little, Mr. Fallahy.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Mr. Dentel, Brian, went, and again, I don't want to get too far into this because I don't think it's a huge point, but did you ever live in Oklahoma when you had the kids, or have you lived in Michigan the entire time that you've had the children?
We lived in Oklahoma.
For how long?
I want to say 6 years, I think. Yeah.
Well, okay. Sorry, maybe I was asked a confusing question there, but the kids, based on their ages that you testified to earlier today, you couldn't have lived in Oklahoma for 6 years and then now in Michigan for 6 years. So how long did you live in Oklahoma while you had the kids? So after the adoptions were complete?
Well, like 2009. Well, there was 5 years when we got Lacey, when we got married. Then 2013, we got Wesley.
So you moved to Michigan in 2015, I believe, was your testimony, right?
That's correct.
So you did live for a period of time, what, maybe a year or two in Oklahoma with the kids before you moved to Michigan, or how long? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
About 3 years with the kids.
Okay. All right. So you did have an opportunity to live there for a period of time while the kids were young and they were in your care, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And again, based on that time frame that you lived in Oklahoma with the kids and your familiarity with that state, do you feel that the kids would have the opportunities if they moved back to Oklahoma that they have currently in Michigan?
No,
And why?
I had to find things I had to do. I did things with the kids. We went antiquing. We went to junkyards. We went to auto parts stores. I let her help me fix my truck. I had to find things I had to do. It made it hard when you live on a farm your whole entire life. You can go outside your back door and get your mind going. Oh, I'm going to fix this. But go home. I had a heck of a time trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do. But I got the kids, and that was the best thing I ever did. And then I started figuring out more things to do with the kids. I loved showing them off. The best thing I ever did when we got Lacey, and I took her on a 3-mile walk in a baby Bourgeois, and then she fell asleep. I just had to figure out things to do. I never lived in a city my whole entire life. It made it hard, but I got through it.
And Brian, is your opposition to this motion that's been filed by your ex-wife, is it to secure a financial advantage in any way? Are you trying to minimize your child support? Can you give the judge some insight as to your motives as it relates to a financial perspective by your opposition to the motion?
The financial thing I'm not worried about. It's just my kids. I don't want them to move. I want to play with them until they get older. I had a good job opportunity and I basically I denied it because I want to be with my kids. I had an awesome job down there in Arkansas. I denied it because we just got Lacey. And then I had another job opportunity in Maine for General Dynamics. I basically denied it too. Financial things, it doesn't matter with me. I just want to be with my kids.
Brian, any domestic violence history between yourself and your ex-wife, Emily?
No.
Brian, from your employment, do you have the ability to financially care for the kids when they're with you in your care?
Yes, I do.
For how many years has Lacey and Wesley been attending their current school where they're attending right now?
Lacey's been there for 5, ever since we moved. No, 4 years. And Wesley, I think about 4 years, I think, or 3.
Do you, Brian, have the physical ability to care for the kids when they're in your care and custody on your parenting time?
Yes, I do.
Do you personally have any mental health history or time frame where you were prescribed any medications for any mental health issues or problems?
No.
Do you feel that your ex-wife Emily facilitates a close relationship between the children and you?
He has a close relationship with the kids, but I don't know about me.
Well, sorry if I was, that might have been another confusing question. It's a Monday morning, Brian. I'm still trying to wake up here. Do you think that your ex-wife promotes a relationship between you and the kids, not between you and your ex-wife?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So she does. Do you think she does anything to kind of get in the way of your relationship with the children or not?
I don't think she tries to.
Good.
So, Mr. Dentel, I'm not sure what you meant by that last statement. You said, I don't think she tries to. Tries to what?
She likes to interfere on when I take the kids out to the park at night, she wants to interfere with that a little bit. Or it gets a little dark out. She doesn't want me to take the kids out there to the park when it's a little bit dark out. She wants to intervene in that part.
Sorry, Judge. Did you have any more questions for Brian or?
No, not the small one. I would just needed clarification as to what he meant by that one.
Thank you. And Judge, I'll ask you, I think I had emailed to your staff before the last hearing, just 2 proposed exhibits. And I sent them to Mr. Kirkpatrick as well. Okay, I didn't know if you had those, Judge. I'd like to, Mr. Kirkpatrick, any objection to those, or do you want me to go ahead and lay the foundation and have those admitted separately?
No, I don't have any objection. I know they're photographs and I think a card that was handwritten by one of the children. I'm not objecting to the admission of those exhibits.
A and B are both admitted.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Judge. Brian, without getting too far into these, you had given me about 100 photos of you and the kids. I'm holding up 4 of them there. Can you see them?
Yes, I do.
And can you just explain, briefly what those photos depict?
One on the sleds there, I was pulling behind the tractor really slow, and they just loved it during the winter. They just couldn't get enough of it. And the one with a crazy hat on and the kids on there, we were just on a tractor ride, a couple of weeks ago, and just having a grand old time, just having some goofy photos. And the cookie one, Lacey made her first sugar cookies that my grandma used to make. I did it with her. And the other photo, what was the other photo?
Pumpkin.
And the pumpkins, she likes sticking her hand in the pumpkins. You know, she liked that gooey substance in the middle, you know. Then we cooked the seeds inside and we ate them. You know, just fun stuff with the kids. You know, something I did with my grandfather, and, you know, I like to pass it on.
And based on the proposed parenting time schedule your ex-wife testified to at the last hearing, would you ever get to spend Halloween with your children again if they were to move to Oklahoma?
Probably not. Probably no.
Brian, the exhibit B appears to be a card of some sort that I'm assuming Lacey wrote to you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are the circumstances behind that card, if you can explain that for the court?
I was just sitting in the trailer one day and I asked what she's doing, and she just started writing stuff down. I can't remember what I did, but she loved it, and, you know, it put a tear to my eye. Must have did something she loved to do. That was last summer.
And just to be clear, Brian, are you in agreement with the children moving to Oklahoma with their mother?
No.
Bear with me just for a second, Brian, please. All right, Brian, I don't have any further questions for you at this time.
Before we move on, does anybody need to take a short break? I'm good.
I'm good, Your Honor, and my cross-examination won't be too long. And then if the court would allow, once I'm done with what I believe the cross-examination, could I do a quick breakout room with my client just to make sure there's something else she doesn't want me to ask? Normally, if we're sitting next to each other, I'll have her notes, so I just want to confirm with her before I end with the witness.
No problem. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gentile, you would agree with me that both of you lived in Oklahoma when you first got married, correct?
That's correct.
I think your testimony was you lived there since from 2009 to about 2015. Is that correct?
I moved out there 2007. But yeah.
Okay. And both the children obviously were adopted when you were in Oklahoma, correct?
That's correct.
And you would agree with me that you wanted to move back to Michigan. You had a job offer and wanted to come back to Michigan for that employment, correct?
That's correct.
You discussed that with your then wife, Ms. Dentel, and she agreed to allow for the family to move back to Michigan, correct?
That's correct.
But initially, you guys were living in the state of Oklahoma. Is that fair? Obviously.
That's correct.
And you would agree that Ms. Dentel also has extended family in Oklahoma as well, correct?
Yes.
And she has her parents there, correct?
That's correct.
And other family members and friends there, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you would also agree with me that the minor children have a very close relationship with Ms. Dentel's parents, the maternal grandparents, correct?
Correct.
You talked about your parenting time with the minor children. You guys got divorced about 15 months ago. Does that sound about right?
That seems about right. Yep.
And so you're telling me over the last 15 months that you've been actively involved in going to all of the medical appointments and dental appointments?
I had to miss them because I had to go on the first shift. It kind of makes it hard because when Emily schedules them at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Kind of makes it hard. And I kind of use my vacation time to spend more time with them.
So you went on first shift, you said 6 or 8 months ago?
It was around March when the COVID hit pretty hard.
So you went on first shift March of last year?
Yeah, when it hit pretty hard. They laid me off, I think in March, and it's at the end of March.
Okay. So you went to first shift the end of March last year, 2020, correct?
Yes.
So you've been on first shift not 6 to 8 months. You've been on first shift for about 15 months. Does that sound about right? We're in June now.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Okay. So for the last 15 months, so pretty close to the date that the two of you got divorced, it's Miss Dental that's been handling all the medical appointments, correct?
So yes, she has.
And all the counseling appointments, correct?
I didn't know anything about the counseling appointments.
Well, I'll strike that. You had testified that you slept in your car for 5 hours to take your son Wesley to counseling appointments. Remember testifying to that?
Yes, I do.
So that was during a time period where the two of you were still married?
They were still married, yes.
Okay. So that didn't happen since the entry of the judgment of divorce, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, since the entry of the judgment of divorce, you've not been involved in the medical appointments or dental appointments or other necessary appointments, correct?
But on third shift, I was involved in every possible medical and dental
Sir,
appointment.
Sir, my question is, since you've been on first shift, you have not been actively involved in any of the medical appointments, correct?
Okay, you're correct.
Thank you. When you had parenting time, you didn't strike that. You didn't exercise your parenting time pursuant to the order last summer, correct?
Oh, me and Emily agreed upon it. It'd be the best interest for every weekend.
Okay. Did you exercise your parenting time every weekend last summer?
Yes, I did.
You didn't miss any weekends throughout the entire summer?
No, I haven't. The only time I missed it when Emily went to Oklahoma.
Okay. Once summer was over, what's your parenting time schedule been like since the fall of 2020?
It went back to our regular time. Monday. It was Monday, then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then the next week would be Wednesdays. That would be it.
So you have one midweek visit a week, and 1 week it's Monday from after work. So we're talking, I think you said 5:30 to about 8, correct? Does that sound right?
That's correct.
And then you have every other weekend.
Yes.
Since March of last year, you have not assisted with any of the virtual schooling, correct?
No, I couldn't do it.
Miss Dentel asked you on more than one occasion to help her out with that, correct?
The virtual schooling is most impossible for me, especially
Sir, right, I get that, but sir, my question is, Miss Dentel had asked you on more than one occasion to help her out through this past school year, correct?
That's correct.
She needed help with watching the children, correct?
That's correct.
She needed help with virtual schooling, correct?
That's correct.
And neither you nor your family assisted her in that in any way, shape, or form, correct?
But she never asked my sister or my.
Okay, you never helped her, correct?
I didn't help her because I was on shift.
To your knowledge, your mom and dad never helped her as well, correct?
Because my mom and dad are older and my dad's a diabetic. It makes it hard.
Okay, so your parents are unable to assist with your children if you're unable to take work off, correct?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, your sister never helped Miss Dentel with the children throughout this entire school year, correct?
But Emily never asked her. Never asked her.
Okay, and you know that for certain.
Why, yes,
Okay,
because she's always put it on me to ask her all the
well, did
time.
you? Right.
And-
Okay, so Miss Dental asked you to ask your sister to help with these children, correct?
Yes.
And so when you asked your sister to do that, what was her response?
It was during the COVID.
So your sister couldn't help.
Well, Emily never asked her.
Sir, my question is, did you ever ask your sister to help out with your children?
Yes, I've always
Okay.
asked her, and she said she would never say no.
So what did she say when you asked her to help Emily? When Emily asked you to ask her, what was her response?
It was during the COVID, because every time they would stay home for 2 weeks, one of her students got COVID.
Regarding your parenting time with the children, there was a significant amount of parenting time that actually took place at Miss Dental's home, correct?
When she asked me to come over, when she said she was tired, I would take some time off of work and I would go over there. I would spend time with the kids.
I'm
And
talking about your scheduled parenting time.
yes,
She
that was
opened her home to you on numerous occasions so you could exercise your parenting time over the past year. Is that correct?
just a couple times. That's about it.
But when you've asked, she's allowed for that to happen, correct?
Yes, and I did it.
Okay. You are aware that she has family in Oklahoma that are able to assist her with schooling. You aware of that?
I'm aware of that, but did she ever tell you they're much older people and they got health problems too? Did she tell you that?
So your position is that her parents are not in a position to be able to help care for these children. Is that your testimony?
Yeah, because both of them had strokes, and Emily's mom.
Let me ask you this, sir. When's the last time you've seen them?
I see him in 3 years.
You haven't seen them in 3 years?
I see him in 3 years. Emily's dad had a stroke 3 years ago, and he's been having strokes all the time.
Okay.
And he used to play with Lacey all the time. Not anymore. Not as much. And
When is the last time you have seen her father? Physically seen?
I haven't seen him in 3 years.
Okay. So you haven't been able to personally gauge his medical condition, correct?
I can't gauge it.
Because you haven't seen him in 3 years, right?
I know he's in pretty bad health. I know that.
Sir, you've not seen him in 3 years, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Regarding the blood test that you were talking about, Your Honor, I'm going to get into this because this is probably something that we may have to address. And I don't know if Mr. Fowley agrees with me, but since we're already here, it might be a good idea to address this issue as well instead of filing another motion regarding this testing. I don't know what Mr. Fowley's position is. It's
Go
outside.
ahead.
So we
I
talked.
was under the impression from his direct examination that although he would like the blood test to be administered, Ms. Dental does not, and if they don't agree, obviously that would have to come to the court. I'm assuming, unless Mr. Fallahy is intending to file a motion to that effect, do I need to address it other than to hear what her reasons are?
I agree. If they want to file the motion, they can file the motion. I'll move on and not ask questions regarding that. Your Honor, could I have a brief breakout room with Ms. Dentel? And then could we have a brief break? Because I've got to zoom into Judge Bates' court for like 5 minutes on a sentencing. And I could be back at 10:15 if the court would give us a 15-minute break after the breakout room.
No problem. What I'll do is I'll create the breakout room for both of you. And I won't expect you back in here until about 10:15.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.